Beautiful. Okay, hello, Bruce. What is the best thing in your mind about your movie, The Legend of Jack and Diane?
The best thing about the movie,
The best thing about the movie.
I love that it's a female revenge thriller.
Hmm.
That's kind of cool to me. I love it when a woman stands up for what's wrong and picks the pieces up, and in this case, Diane goes after everybody who was involved in the murder of her mother and just wipes them out from Indiana to Los Angeles. Just takes revenge on everybody. So that's probably the coolest piece of the movie.
So you think it's that gender angle, like because women are more vulnerable, to see them take on peril, like we're more worried for them,
I
and
think so. I
so it's
mean,
more satisfying. Yeah.
that's my take. I mean, I used to watch
Yeah.
Nancy Grace all the time, and all these stories about I mean, with my girlfriend too. I'm probably so overprotective because I'm worried if she goes into a convenience
Yeah.
store, she'll disappear like you see on the news all the time.
All right.
So when you have a situation like this, you have a woman who's actually decides. And by the way, and the female, my girlfriend played the character. She played the main character,
Oh.
and she wrote the script with me and played the main character. And the main character is not necessarily so strong. She talks to her mother
Hmm.
during the film and says, "I'm not as strong as you," but she finds the strength. So Bob Marley had a great quote. We're never as we're not as strong as we are until we figure out how strong we are. It was along those lines,
Hmm.
and that's true. So I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, I think we're not always aware of what we're capable of, and it takes circumstances for our character to sort of rise to the top, right?
Exactly, 1,000%.
Yeah. All right. And so the film also has a great role for the late Tom Sizemore. So please tell me and my audience what it was like to work with him.
It was fantastic. I mean,
Uh,
Tom was one of my favorite actors growing up as a kid. Point Break, True Romance,
oh,
Heat,
yeah.
Saving Private Ryan. He was in everything. So
Yeah.
when we had the opportunity to work with him, it was kind of surreal. It was just
Mm.
he still had that presence on set. He could just, I mean, the guy could just deliver a line. It just seemed different. It just seemed
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
He had that thing about him, like when he was stealing scenes from De Niro. I mean, he has that, when he speaks, it does something different on camera. So, and on top of that, he was just a lovely guy to work with. He had a great heart. He shared his experience with everybody, was nice to everybody. He was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. Like that, hearing you say that, like he's so electric.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people just have that when I mean, when the camera points towards them, it's just even in the delivery, the vernacular, the way they speak, there's just something that makes you want to listen, and he had that in droves. And he was just fun to work with, I mean, we spoke about working on other films together. We were in contact until the week before he passed away. It was just a very shocking experience. It was kind of, I just kept thinking, I know what an aneurysm is, but I know like Brett
Right.
Michaels had the same thing, and I just kept thinking he was going to pull through it. I did not think that was going to happen. It kind of blew me away.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. He was able to even when he was playing like that douchey insurance like agent in Twin Peaks, he's always just so memorable.
Oh, and everything he did,
Yeah.
everything he did. I mean, I remember. I mean, his role. Do you remember Point Break?
I did not see Point Break.
Hold on a second. Did you see?
At
Did you see
least I
a
didn't
Point Break?
lie. At least I didn't lie.
So
I didn't see
I
Point
know.
Break. I missed it.
Okay, so your homework when you go home is to watch the original.
All right, okay, fair enough, fair enough. I'll take it.
Sizemore had a little small role in that and
Yeah,
memorable. Remember the game. Same thing. He had a small role playing a cop in that. Have you seen True Romance?
I've seen True Romance, yes.
All right, okay. You redeemed yourself.
Okay. And this movie definitely has a True Romance vibe, I would say. In fact, I was gonna say if I was gonna have a double bill with this movie, with your movie, I would put it with True Romance. What would you put it alongside it?
Well, first, let me say that's probably the best compliment anybody could ever pay to me because
Ah,
True Romance to me is one of the most beautifully done movies ever. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah,
a classic, but I just love the way everything was done. The writing, the lighting was just perfect. Love Tony Scott.
oh yeah.
I I don't know. That would be the one that I want to be compared to. I mean, I don't think it's hard to to stay in that lane with that movie. That movie was so perfect. But I was inspired by that when I was writing this film.
Mm, nice. So how long, like, how many movies have you made? I know you've acted for a while, but how many movies have you directed?
This was the first movie I've directed, and
Oh,
I've acted, since my first role was in 21 Jump Street back in the 80s.
right.
Did the acting thing for a while, and then started writing. And I got lucky
Uh,
enough to write on some shows. But I've always wanted to direct, and I was one of those guys who, even when I was writing, I would stay on set until they made me leave because I wanted to see how the directors directed. Instead of going to film school, I went and lived on movie sets or TV shows that I was working on and picked up everything. I mean, from the executive producer's brain to the line producer, I just loved it. It was just, to me, it's just the greatest thing you can do. It's kind of like food for the soul. It's like if during the times in my life when I've not been able to create, I have felt dead inside.
damn.
And
Uh,
so being on set to me is just the greatest thing that you could do.
well, I'm glad that there is a set for you
Me
because
too.
we all need medicine of some sort. So I'm glad your medicine exists and you have access to it. Uh, how long have you wanted to make a movie like a cool, like, gritty crime movie such as The Legend of Jack and Diane?
I mean, ever since I can remember. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, when I was a little kid, and I'd escape to the playground and write poetry when I was in 8th grade, and
Wow.
just sit and write. And I always felt like I always felt empathy towards other people's stories.
Mm,
So I think writing some things, like they say that you should write what you know about.
yeah.
I feel other people's pain quite a bit, and I like to obviously find a silver lining through that when you're telling these stories. But I think being able to put something on paper that makes people feel, whether it be laugh, cry, whatever the emotion is the
Mm.
most powerful thing you can do. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But I've always wanted to make, I think in the future we're gonna make some grittier stuff. We just wrapped a movie
Uh,
3 days ago that I directed called Love Kills, which is a dark comedy,
nice.
and funny as hell, but it's a little bit gritty also. Follows along the same kind of like lines as this one. I think you kind of, when you're making movies, you kind of had to fall into a little bit of a brand, depending on which way you go. I love love stories and crime stories, and I,
Nice.
I like putting them together.
Nice. You get to be a conductor that way,
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
from a big emotion to the next.
Absolutely. And you kind of encompass everything in those two
Yes.
things. When it comes to love and crime, you've got everything.
So I read that this is going to be a TV show. I would love to know how it would have differed as a series.
So originally, my girlfriend and I, before the COVID thing happened, we were writing this as an episodic television show. We wrote about 9 episodes, I think. And Jack and Diane was a young couple from Seymour, Indiana, and she wanted to go out to Hollywood and become an actress. And when she did, she realized that Hollywood was not what it seemed,
Mm.
and she ended up falling into the Harvey Weinstein trap.
Oh.
Was sexually molested, and her and Jack became kind of like a natural born killers couple, and went after all the sexual predators in Hollywood and just wiped them out. And I mean, killed them in crazy, crazy ways.
Oh my
And
God.
we were pitching it. I was hearing from some executives that they loved the scripts, but
Uh,
they were not like kind of ready to really address the material in prime time. So
I wonder why.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, so we softened it a little bit and made it about, now Diane's mother is murdered. She finds out about the people that was people she finds out about the people that were involved, and she creates a hit list, and it's a cross-country crime spree. So a little bit of a different story, but nevertheless, it's a revenge thriller.
Cool. And so how many episodes had you written, or did you do like a script Bible or
I
like
did everything. We had nine
yeah,
episodes written. We had nine
damn.
episodes. And we had a lot of interest. I really thought, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand how it's sort of like taking a chance, but that story, the Harvey Weinstein story is well known. that it's not just Harvey Weinstein, that it's, lots and lots of others in Hollywood. And you, let me tell you something, you would experience it as a guy. I can tell you stories from when I was 19, 20, 21 years old, from both sides, men and women, who made propositions to you to get either into the modeling world or into an acting gig, and it's out there all the time. So I'm surprised. I mean, it's something that should be dealt with personally.
Would you say like there's been much of that seismic shift, like a change of the environment, like since 2017 when the Weinstein allegations became known?
I would say there's definitely been a major shift. I would assume that people are
Okay.
much more on their P's and Q's, not trying to offend anybody. I mean, nowadays you'll even have, you won't leave. I know on major sets, if there's an actress with a PA, sometimes they'll have a second person there to walk them to and from and be around them, just so there are no allegations. I mean, that happens all the time now. So they're
Wow.
definitely more aware of everything happening. Obviously, I'm not sure if it's something that's gone from Hollywood or if it'll ever be gone. I don't know.
Right.
There's always those seedy, like creepy people that use their power for bad things.
Yeah, I know we're a little off topic, but like it's interesting, and it's just like I guess you just kind of have to make it a very difficult environment to get away with it. You can't away from it 100%, but you have to make people afraid of the consequences. And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And the consequences, and it goes both ways, because the consequences
yeah,
now are so great that there are some people that might not have even been guilty of that. That are, once the word just comes out, you're banished from Hollywood. You're gone.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely the landscape has definitely changed. There's no doubt.
Those are big consequences. So okay, so I want to know how you had like the show from 9 episodes, and then how you changed that to a feature script. I would be very interested to know about that.
I'll tell you what.
Obviously, it's like give me like a nutshell, I guess,
The
of that
nutshell
process.
is I wrote the book first. I wrote a book called The Legends of Jack and Diane,
Oh wow.
and I didn't release it. It has a huge backstory. So then
Huh.
I thought, going to an episodic television show, you can of course have a lot more backstory. In an
Right.
hour and 30 minutes, you can't quite tell as much. So
Mhm.
the movie is a slimmed down version of everything.
Mm.
And how you go about changing it is finding the most important pieces and the most exciting pieces, and just trying to combine them and telling the best story that you can when you're writing it.
Yeah, I guess it's just like you were creating this intriguing world, and then you just got down to the bare essentials. I'm
It's not
sure
easy. It's
it's
not
like
easy. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
It's not
No, no,
easy
no.
because you got your characters that you love. Like
Right.
there's a backstory on Jack that nobody knows
Ugh,
about how he was molested as a child, and certain things that, like, the reason why he became so attached to Diane is, this is not in the movie. When Diane moved into his town, she protected him from the bullies. She protected him, and she became his, like, savior. And so, although he grew up to be big and strong, he always kind of felt safe behind Diane. So there are a lot of things that you can't tell because you just don't have the time when you do a movie. That's probably the downfall of doing that.
yeah. But I saw there were so you wrote this with the lead actress of this movie and your girlfriend. But
Yeah.
I saw that there was another writer attached to it. Like how important were their eyeballs on your material?
As my executive producer, I don't. He might have made a couple of comments about story ideas, so
Yeah.
we gave him some credit there also.
Oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. Lucky him. um, what were some lessons you got from your cast and crew to make you a better creator for this project?
Oh, good question. Good question. Um, I don't know. I think probably the most important thing was, I mean, without a doubt, we had some difficulties. I had some. We had to get rid of a few people on the crew during filming. I
Damn.
think when you have, the more cohesive everybody is, I mean, to me, when I'm finding a crew, I want everyone to read the script first of all. Like,
Mm,
I want everyone to love the story. You've got to be passionate about telling the story. If you're just there for a payday and you're going to fall asleep when you're not needed, and, like, but you have a major role, like, if let's say you're the, I don't know, first AC or something, and you're not interested in. I want everyone to be passionate about the story we're telling, and I think that's the most important thing. I think when you're putting the crew and the cast together, you've got to figure out who's really in it for the right reasons. Especially when you're doing independent films, because the money, you don't have the big paydays there.
Sure. One thing we're talking about, like the intensity of this movie, and I think maybe just to give the full picture, the movie's really funny too. And I was wondering, since you do have a lot of funny scenes, like dark humor for sure, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of funny material here. Which scene had people laughing the most on set?
Oh God. There was some, it's funny because there were these little tiny things that I'm not sure some people even catch. Something that made me crack up is when Robert Lasardo is going through so they're in the crack house. Diane just wiped everybody out.
Yeah.
Tom Sizemore is calling Lasardo to say, "Hey, I think they're coming after you."
Uh,
Lasardo is reciting some Julius Caesar sayings from back when Caesar was the emperor, and Sizemore's like, "Yeah, whatever," and just kind of like he kind of blows it off. And it was a little subtle thing, but he did it perfectly, and that always made me laugh. I loved when, and this wasn't really. It was kind of funny, but for me, it was when that Diane goes into the hotel room, and we don't realize that she's actually really scared and messed up over what just happened, but yet she's talking about the water and how tap water can kill you, and how there was a what was it, a bird in the pool. They found a duck. I think it was a duck. I can't remember. A chicken. They found a chicken floating in the pool, and she's worried about the Yelp reviews because she's
That's
like, there's
funny.
no coffee in the morning. There's bed bugs. There's a chicken in the pool. She's worried about that stuff to get her mind off of the fact that they just killed someone.
Oh, that's real. That's real life, right?
Yeah, I think so. So there was
Not that I've killed anyone.
Yeah,
I don't think.
not on camera. You won't tell
I'm pretty sure. All right. Bruce, thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed the movie. How can people watch The Legend of Jack and Diane?
It is on Amazon Prime right now, and then going to all the other platforms that you'd normally watch stuff on. But right now, Amazon Prime.
All right, cool, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Great interview. I appreciate it.
Very sweet. I really appreciate that.